Good afternoon. This is Debbie Broughton, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from St. Robert, Missouri. I'm so glad that you could join me this afternoon for day 2 of my Sweet Bugs classes. Today we're going to make this one with the mushrooms. It's just so much fun. So I will put the measurements in the description, either here in Nana's Stampin' Room on Facebook, and also I transfer this video to my YouTube channel, Nana's Stampin' Room, and I'll have the measurements in the description there. But I am so glad that you could join me. So let's kind of get started. First of all, here's the card we're going to make. And on the inside, I put, heard you caught a bug, feel better soon, and I stamped the little ants down here, just to kind of maybe send a smile to someone who's not feeling well. I thought that would be a kind of a cute idea. So here we go to see what we need to have to make this card. First of all, we need our card base, which I did in Old Olive, and it is our usual size, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to crease our fold, which is always the first thing we do. The next, let's just kind of look at the pieces. This piece is Cajun Craze, and I embossed it with the brick wall. Then this is Very Vanilla for around the outside, and it is 4 by 5 1/4, and I went ahead and cut the mushrooms out of this because it's going to get hidden with the DSP anyway. And this is the 4 by 5 1/4 piece for the inside. Then this is cut with the largest rectangle in the Nested Essential Die set. So that's going to go right there. And then I have, hopefully I have all the pieces. I have the 2 mushrooms, the 2 mushroom caps, the teeny butterfly. This is for my greeting. I used the banner punch for this. I'm going to use the Thinking of You from the banner punch stamp set. And then I have the tall leaves, or stem and leaves, the short stem and leaves, the flower, which I think kind of looks like a zinnia or a daisy. And then here's this little snail and the little dragonfly and a piece of grass. And the only thing that I think I'm missing is the little Cajun piece that goes up here. Let me see if, sometimes I have extra pieces from when I cut this out before. So I do here in my little cup. Whoops. Fell right out of my hand. We don't need this extra heart. So we're going to use this as the middle of our flower. And I wanted to use this mushroom paper, but I'm almost out of it. And what I have left is cut to be landscape rather than portrait. So we're just going to change the orientation of the card. It really won't change too much else besides just how this will lay down here this way instead of up. I used a different sheet of DSP on this card. I used a bug sheet, but since it has mushrooms, I thought, oh, it would be better if I did the mushrooms, the mushroom paper. At the back of this is the red checked. That looks kind of like a tablecloth. So what we're going to do is we're going to first glue this down to our piece of Very Vanilla. And like I said, we're just going to cover it up. If you're here and you're watching, it would be great if you could go ahead and comment. This is my new glue press that my friend Anna sent me. And it is just so nice because inevitably, whenever I make cards using my mono adhesive, I always end up with glue on my hands, and then I go to touch something and I get glue on my card. So now that eliminates that problem. So I'm going to add this to here, and I'm going to kind of get it even, left to right, up and down. That's why I like to use vinyl adhesive more than the Stamp and Seal, because it just, I hardly ever get it down straight the first time. So now, I made a mistake when I made this one and forgot to put the ribbon around it. So you can't really tell because I kind of just put a glue dot and held each end of the ribbon there. But now that I haven't glued it together, we can take our Mossy Meadow Rickrack ribbon, which I'm almost out of that too. And we're going to put it across here. I just wanted to be sure I had enough. But first, let's see if we can glue this piece on. Now, this piece is kind of tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off about 1/2 of an inch. I thought I measured this before and it looked like it wouldn't be too tall, but it is. Even if, because I don't want it to take up the whole card front. So I'm going to cut off about 1/2 inch, and then we're going to see where we're at. So I might even have to go a little bit further. I'm just going to go, actually I only cut off 1/4 of an inch. Oh, it was 1/2. So now I'm going to cut off another 1/4 of an inch off the top and see if that will help. So there we go. I will change that on the directions, what the measurement should be if you're going to do a portrait, what measurement you should do if you're doing a landscape. Now this should still fit here. It still fits nicely. I guess maybe I could go back and use a smaller one, but it's okay because enough of the brick wall is going to be showing. So let's get these glued down. I'm just looking to be sure I don't want to change something else, but I think that's going to look good. So I'm going to put some glue here on the back of the bricks. Somehow, probably putting it in the cutting machine after I had it embossed kind of tore it a little bit there. But we'll fix that. We'll put our mushroom, or we'll put a ladybug there to hide that. Okay, then we're going to glue this on. Okay, now it's just a matter of us putting together all our pieces. We have this small mushroom, this large mushroom, the cap, which is in Cajun Craze, and this is the small mushroom cap. So let's get those glued on. This one is not hard to make at all because everything I have here was cut out with the dies. I didn't have to fussy cut anything for this card. Not like yesterday's card where I cut out a few things. These are all punched out. There's the small mushroom, the large mushroom. I'm going to try to just get it even there on the top. There we go. Okay, we have our mushrooms finished. What else do we have left to do? We have the white flower here. Oh, now I don't know what happened to my little flower. I don't see that in here either. Sometimes with all these little pieces, I should put them in a little baggie, I think, so that all my pieces stay together. I will cut out another one real quick here when we get there. So first let's glue this middle of the flower to the flower. We're just going to add a little glue right there. And we're going to add this middle. Actually, the die for this cuts out 2 different middles and then a raspberry or a blackberry. So we can add this to the top of our stem now. We're just going to add a little bit of glue up here on these leaves. Herbie, stop please. Sorry, my dog found a piece of paper on the floor, so he's busy chewing it up into a million little pieces, because that's what he loves to do, is get a hold of a piece of paper and see how small of pieces he can chew it up in. You can always tell when he's being very quiet and just kind of laying there. I should have let that sit a little bit longer. The top, the middle here. I'm going to see if I can kind of fix it up. There we go. And we have that on its stem. So now let me just run and cut out another big flower. Here's all the dies that this comes with. This comes with 22 dies. It's so much fun to play with. It'll just take me a moment. I guess I could have brought up my small cut and emboss machine, but sometimes it shakes my camera and then everything gets off kilter when I'm using it here on this desk. So let me poke this out here. I'm going to put this right back because I know if I don't, I will forever lose it somewhere. Okay, so now on this one, I did a yellow dot in the middle, but now I'm thinking that I'm going to do a Cajun Craze dot in the middle just so that it matches everything else. So even though I don't have the Stampin' Blend in Cajun Craze, I have still have our Stampin' Right markers. So I'm just going to color in very lightly in the middle. Just to kind of get it to match the rest of the flowers. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to glue it to these leaves, but I'm going to trim off this bottom one as soon as I find my paper scissors, paper snips, because it's too tall anyway. So I'm just going to cut off this bottom one and we'll just have that to work with. I'm going to add a little bit of glue up here at the top on these little leaves. Lay my flower there. So there, now I have all my pieces ready to get put on to my crumb cake piece. So first we're going to put the big mushroom on, and I think I'm going to pop the mushrooms up this time. Let me get my dimensionals out here. Perhaps if I have dimensionals. I have mini dimensionals and regular size dimensionals. So I think I'm going to put a big one up here on the top, and then a couple of small ones going down the stem. I love having my nails, but sometimes they get in the way when you're crafting. These might even be too wide to put here. It's a little bit wider at the bottom, so I'm going to try there. Let me just see if it's going to hang out a little bit, so I'm going to trim it. There we go. Now let's see if it even has some stick left to it. Not much, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue to it. Okay. Now we want this one to I'm just going to kind of make it grow a little sideways. Then we have our small one, which we're going to use the mini dimensionals for the small one. Oh, and I don't think that that's even really going to work, so I'm going to try to maybe put one right here at the top, because this stem is way too small even for a mini dimensional. There we go. So now let's see how this looks. Okay, I got the paper off all of those. And I'm going to put this one kind of over on this side. I'm going to take my big flower here, see if I can get it off of the glass mat. Add a few drops of glue there. And I'm going to kind of slip it between these two mushrooms. I'm going to go this way. And try to fit it in there. Oh, I think I could use it to... Oh, it looks pretty good like this. I'm trying to move it up just a little bit so you can see more of the flower. There we go. And then we have our small flower, which is going to go right over on this side. So let me get this picked up and turned over. Again, I'll add some glue. Again, if you're watching and you comment, that would be great. I always like to hear from people while I'm on here stamping. Okay, so now this looks pretty good. So we're going to have our Mossy Meadow Grass here. And I can go up a little bit because the tag's going to show. So I'm just going to raise the grass a little bit and let a little bit of the crumb cake show at the bottom, because the label will hide that, because I kind of set my large mushroom up kind of high. So let's put a line of glue here. I have a line of glue right there at the bottom. And I'm just going to take it up just a little bit. Like I said, the label is going to hide that it's not reaching all the way to the bottom. So next we're going to do our Rickrack. We're going to get our tear and tape, which I just saw my tear and tape somewhere when I sat down here. Do things just kind of disappear on you sometimes when you're working? They do to me all the time. let me just take a second here to look around, because when I sat down here, I saw the tear and tape. Here it is. I put it underneath the ink pads, of course. So, we're going to have some tear and tape. As soon as we find the beginning of the tear and tape, here it is. And we want this to be at the bottom, just up a little bit from the bottom. So we're going to put a piece here, and we're going to put a piece. These pieces are probably too long, but that's okay. It'll help hold the piece down. Then I'm going to put 2 pieces waiting on my fingers, so when I lay down the ribbon, I can just lay these pieces on top without having to tear more. I'm going to take off the white piece of paper. Sometimes easier said than done. There we go. Into the trash. Into the trash. Now I have my Rickrack. If I run out of Rickrack, I also have some Mossy Meadow twine from a while ago, and I can use that. So we want this to come down just a little bit more, because we kind of want it to go right underneath the grass there, so it hides that our grass didn't go all the way down. And I'm going to turn it this way, and then I'm going to cut this off with my ribbon scissors. You know, for the longest time when I did Stampin' Up, I didn't have one pair of scissors exclusively for ribbon and the other for paper. And forever I was not being able to cut my ribbon straight. But Gina, who's another Stampin' Up demonstrator in Waynesville, Missouri, she gave me this little charm to hook to my ribbon scissors so I can always remember which one is my ribbon. Okay. So now we have that. Next, we're going to do our label. So I already have the label here, and I'm going to try, and I have the Thinking of You, and like I said, this comes from the, it's Banner Things, and it comes with a punch that punches out 3 banners. So I picked the Thinking of You one, and I have some Cajun Craze ink right here, which I'm going to open up. Now, let's see if we can get this straight the first time. I might have to, I usually like to stamp then punch, but when I was punching, I had a piece that was just right for the punch, so I said, well, I'm going to just try punching it out first. Oh, and I got it straight. It must be my day. That's about all I can say for that. So now, we're going to place this label here, kind of covering our ribbon a little, and we still want to be able to see our grass, which is still good. So I think the best idea for this is going to be glue dots, since we're going to be putting it onto this ribbon so that it holds well. So I have glue dots right here. We're going to put 3. Like I said, this one is easier than yesterday's in the fact that you didn't have to fussy cut anything out. Everything I cut out with the dies this time. And everything came from the Bugs die except for the grass. That came from my Easter Joy set of dies. So now I'm going to kind of, I forgot I have tear and tape on the back. I'm going to try to just let the very top of the Mossy Meadow ribbon show. and get that stuck down there. Why doesn't this glue dot want to stick? Because there's no glue dot there. Alright. I thought for sure I had 3, but perhaps it fell off or something. Here it is. Right here. So we'll put one right there. And we'll try again to get this straight. Let me see if I can hold this up. I think that looks pretty straight. What do you think? Let me get rid of this glue dot here. Otherwise, I'm going to stick my card to it by mistake, and then we'll have a mess. Okay. So the reason this is sticking is because I forgot to put on these 2 pieces on the back here, just to hold your ribbon down securely. And I don't even have to take the backing off. Get my glue press. You know, every time I open and close the stamp sets, I get ink on this thumb inevitably, no matter what I try. I'm not sure why. It must have just always hit the pad just right when I'm closing it. So now I'm going to add this to our card base. And there we have the landscape version of this card. Now I have these 3 little things here cut out of Flirty Flamingo, a dragonfly, a snail, and a butterfly. So, let's see where we're going to put these. I can see that I'm going to put one here to try to cover up a little bit where my paper tore from putting it through my paper trimmer. You really can't tell too bad, but I can see that it's there. So I'm just going to add a little dot of glue. And I'm going to kind of pick this up and turn it over with my Picket tool. And then I'm going to lay it right there in that dot of glue. So there we go. There we have a dragonfly. Here we have a snail. Where should we put the snail? I'm going to put him, this one I put it like right above the label. So I'm going to try that again. See if I can get it to glue right here above the label. These are so small. There we go, a little snail. And then we have this butterfly, and we'll put the butterfly up in the sky. Well, not in the sky, but up here. I might have to get out my embossing buddy because it looks like I got this dot of glue kind of big for the butterfly. Okay, we can't forget our Stella. I just ordered a new Stella because this one is just getting older. And I'm just going to Stella these little creatures. I love this little snail. He's just so cute. Okay, and then we have some embellishments to put on, which I have those here too. I have the snails and the water droplets. There they are. I didn't mean I have snails. I have ladybugs and water droplets. So let's decide where we want to put our ladybug. I think this time I'm going to put it on the small mushroom. I think these are in back order, but they're due sometime in April, I'm pretty sure. But they might have already come back in. I didn't check today. Okay, so we have a ladybug there. Now we need some water droplets. So we're going to put a water droplet here. and a teeny water droplet. Right here on this flower. So there we go. Now all we have to do is decorate the inside. Plus I have enough of this paper left over to do a envelope flap. So this is going to be our inside, and I'm going to take these 3 ants here. I have them on this block. I'm going to try our new hybrid black ink. It takes me just a little bit because my nails... I was practicing with this. There we go. So I'm going to tap it. And keep looking at it to be sure that it looks good. And then I'm going to kind of center these in the middle at the bottom. And I didn't do very good. This is the first time using this pad, so I have to get used to it, I think. Okay, it looks like it's pretty. So I'm just going to sit it here and let it kind of have time to transfer from the block to the paper. Ha! Perfect. Now, to color this in, I have Poppy Parade for the ants, Daffodil Delight for the trumpet, and I think I did the flag in Pumpkin Pie. Let's see what other colors I have laying here. I have Pool Party. Let's make the flag be Pool Party this time. Okay, so I'm just going to use the larger side of my blend, and I'm just going to carefully, I'm not going to really blend any colors or anything. I'm using them mostly for these ants to color them in. Just takes a few minutes. I love our blends. I'm so glad that we got them. I still have all my Stampin' Write markers though, and they're, even though some of them I've had for like 10 years, sometimes the small tip would get dried out, but as far as the brush side, they're still going good. There might be a couple like Old Olive because I used Old Olive a lot. So so that one, the tip is a little, looking a little frayed on. Alright, now we got to do the trumpet. The trumpet's smaller, so I'm going to use the smaller side of the blend. I missed his arms. No, his arms are black. Okay. So there's his trumpet. Here's for the flag and Pool Party. And they're marching on. I'm going to add some glue. The blends bleed through the paper a lot. But that's okay because nobody's ever going to see this side. By the time I put that much glue on it, you're never going to be able to get it back up to look. And so now we're all ready. We can stamp a Get Better, You're in My Prayers. Everything can go with this card because it says thinking of you. I can even do again, I hear you caught a bug. Hope you feel better soon. I just kind of like that saying. Thank you so much for joining me this late afternoon, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what time yet because I have a class in the morning that I should get done with by noon. So I'm thinking probably about 2 o'clock Central Time. I'll be between 2 and 3. I'll be back on again tomorrow with day 3. And again, I want to say that I saw these cards on Christine Bertram's videos on YouTube. So I wanted to give her credit. Have a great afternoon. Bye.